So now that we know that we're 6 feet apart, I'm Chris Tenaglia, the COO of Valiant Group. I'm here with Frank Zaino with CEC Engineering. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Frank Zaino, Associate Principal from Creative Environment, otherwise known as CEC. We're based out of Providence, Rhode Island. Cranston, but no one knows where that is. So Providence, right down the road from you guys.
A little bit, different state.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I guess, I have my working papers today, so I'm allowed to be in this the fine Bay State.
Fantastic. Well, it's actually the Commonwealth.
Well, same difference.
Well, we're here from New Bedford over at the Valiant office. We've been working with Frank Zaino and his team as the engineers for most of our projects on the cannabis side. We just wanted to give him an interview and let him know and let everybody know what Frank does and what his team can provide for anybody's cannabis facility that's thinking about doing any type of building inside the state of Massachusetts regarding cannabis cultivation, dispensaries, or even kitchens or labs. So just wanted to see what your role in construction was, and if somebody wanted to start a cannabis cultivation facility, and they're at the point where they got their design now, they have their architect. How do they approach you? Where do you come from?
So I mean, we kind of, I guess, get to the projects a couple different ways. Some by contractors like yourself or others in a design build a relationship, or the architect or a cultivation team member that's worked with us in the past refers us into the project, and we provide a proposal and go through all the interviews. But it's kind of, we don't market in any way. I guess that's I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's referral only or just word of mouth, because we like to know at least someone on the team.
Well, they like to say that you're only as good as your last job. So if someone has something bad to say about you, the next person's not using you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, we don't, you're never going to see me at a trade show booth or handing out marketing flyers. It's just something I hate. I guess it's my disdain for people in general. So I mean, it is what it is.
What's the engineering's phrase? They either look at your feet or look at their feet.
Yeah. No, there's two types of engineers. One, when they talk to you, look at their shoes, and the other, look at theirs. So yeah, it's the same difference.
Excellent. So tell us what you do. Tell us how. People, from what our experience is, they know they want to build a construction facility or a cannabis facility. They know that they want to get X amount of flower, how many square feet. They fill out all of their forms, but some of them just don't understand the incredible enduring effort it is to be able to take on an MEP engineering, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So can you explain to us what's involved?
Yeah. So I mean, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection. That's kind of the MEP, FP. You'll hear that. That's what we do. So mechanical in general is like the HVAC or the heating and ventilation systems on these facilities. So I try to explain to people it's the only thing you can't scale up in this industry is the actual cultivation. So people think they'll come from a guerrilla grow or some kind of black market, gray market situation. Now they're into the white market, and they think they can just, I need 500 pounds. I used to do 100 pounds, just multiply it by 5 and we're good. That's just not how it works. So it's kind of part, almost we have to educate them in the proper ways of designing one of these facilities. At this point, I want to say our first facility we designed in 2013 as a whole. I think we're over 2.5 million square feet now at this point. 85 projects we've consulted on throughout the country and a couple internationally. So we've seen it every different way possible at this point. So it's kind of just bringing your expertise to the team and then trying to explain to people or try to get an understanding of what their experiences has had. It's hard to find a quote-unquote so-called expert. I mean, because the industry is so young. In some regard, it hasn't been a formal industry with a huge track record. So
there's no education, and you can't say, hey, do you have a master's? Or when they say they're a master grower, what does that actually mean?
Exactly. So it's pulling from things you've already known. And then just a team effort all the way around. Out of all the facilities we've done, not one of them is the same, because every person's SOPs or every cultivator, the extraction technician, everyone has their little twist on it, because it's kind of you learn by experience at this point. So it's kind of fun. Not every job's the same, so at least it keeps it interesting. I think that's why we're enthusiastic about it in our office because it's just a different challenge every day.
Understood. So, all the different projects you've done, you say no two projects are the same. Obviously, we know you work with multi-state operators. You work across the country. Do you have a favorite project? Is there a team that you like working with? And what's your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the people working with some of the bigger multi-state operators that we do, they already have their SOPs down. So I guess my favorite client to this point is definitely the ones that are open to new technologies and just completely open to just kind of not designing a facility or operating a facility because they've had past experience of what cannabis facility can be. So it can be a GMP lab. It can be, almost a biopharmaceutical type level facility. So we're working with one group in particular right now, phytotherapy. The client group is fun. It's a little bit disorganized chaos, but we love it. They're very enthusiastic bunch of team members. So I mean, they're kind of pushing the envelope on what they want. They want the latest and greatest. They want us to explore techniques and methodology and equipment that hasn't been, we'll say, tried and true for years. It's emerging. The engineering systems work, but like they've never put together in this type of facility.
Yeah.
And I know that you work with one of their, primary vendors on that project, Agrify, quite exclusively. So we, as an engineer, we're pretty excited working with that group as well. Their software solutions, all the way down to their automation, has been very, I want to call it game changing, in our regard, because we see that in most facilities that fail, there's some kind of breakdown in SOP or a human factor. So anytime we can mitigate that with bringing in automation or anything like that, that's been, that's definitely something that we're excited to explore more of.
Excellent. So your more favorite clients are the ones that kind of got into it and they want the latest and greatest. They'll take advice.
It's a team. It's definitely someone that's
a collaborative
open.
effort.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I have a lot of favorite clients because they're just great people and some amazing experts in the field that we've got to start. 7 years ago or 5 years ago when they're smaller, now they're bigger. I mean, so it's a lot of good people that I've met. But the clients that I enjoy, the projects I guess I would enjoy the most are the ones that are kind of, I hate to say blank checkbook, but it's kind of, hey, what do you think? What hasn't happened yet in cannabis? What can cannabis be? That's been the exciting part for me.
Understood. That's your favorite part about working in cannabis, or is it that it's challenging? For us, it's the challenging part.
Yeah, I mean, as an engineer, a lot of things get cookie cutter over the years. Cannabis just isn't, because every facility is different. A restaurant's a restaurant. There's core pieces to everything. A hotel has core pieces. Casinos have core pieces. So outside of like the biopharmaceutical world, I mean, cannabis to us is ever changing and ever. It's fun being part of the evolution of what the industry is becoming.
So tell me about, I know this is going to get a little technical and some people are going to think it's boring, but if you're an engineer, if you're thinking about spending money or starting a facility, tell me about the electrical requirements. I hear about this stuff every day because we're in it.
Yeah.
But tell me about how much electrical is, like, the electrical requirements that are actually part of the facility.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can equate it to is a data center, and it's because of the cooling loads are so high. So I mean, there's different ways to mitigate those electric costs through, using natural gas chillers or something like that, or kind of basically diversifying electrical loads throughout the facilities through scheduling software and things of that nature. That's why, again, the Agrify solution to us is very exciting, because it's kind of you control the whole facility at a microclimate level instead of room by room. So instead of looking at a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot flower room, you're looking at 32 square feet. So you get a little bit more control over that. I'm a huge proponent of microclimates and controlling everything down to the nth degree as much as possible. So that's been pretty cool to see how that all's going up. But the electrical requirements, I try to, I may have said it a couple of times, I can hear your meter spinning from my house. I mean, if you think you're going to grow a quote unquote green facility it can be to a point. I mean, we do as many sustainability measures as possible, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're growing cannabis inside. It's going to be energy intensive.
Well, speaking of that, you're growing cannabis inside. We've talked about this before in different podcasts and different interviews, but obviously Massachusetts and the environment, mold. As an engineer and using your firm, what type of mitigation do you do, and how do you combat that, especially when it comes to the town looking at odor and then the mold situation, because the flower is failing on everybody's facility because of how difficult it is to grow.
Yeah, I want to say everything, even as an engineer, everything starts at the envelope level. So, I mean, you're the greatest engineer in the world, but if you don't have a decent architect or someone that understands the hardships of these facilities as well, it has to be a symbiotic relationship. It has to start at the envelope. It's just like any other, like, if we're going to traditional construction, like a LEED certification or something like that, if you want to control environmental measures, you need a tight box to work in. So, I mean, that lends itself right off the bat. SIP panel construction, that's been my favorite way of designing these buildings, because you can control the environment. It's gas tight.
For the viewers, SIP panel construction? Was that
structural insulated panels. Basically a really nice refrigerator box, I guess you would say in layman's terms. But, it starts there. And then from there it works into dehumidification and understanding the latent sensible loads, which, believe me, that's not my forte in any way. I'm definitely more the electrical end of the engineering spectrum.
Which is why my questions were diverted towards there.
Yeah. So don't ask me about that. No, but our guys have definitely developed on our team some unique ways to combat that. Dehumidification in general, using various equipment vendors and solutions.
Gotcha. So another question for you, from a construction standpoint, a lot of people, they think or know that we just take a set of plans that's from the architects and the engineers, and then we just go and build it.
That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah.
So from you, on that point, after you design the facility, what are your biggest challenges after the fact?
I want to say,
what is everybody, if they get their plans done, they're going to start construction, what can they not look forward to, but what can be the 2 or 3 biggest challenges that you can see from that angle?
Yeah, I think it's leveling expectations. And that's where the most successful projects I've been on, the contractor's, part of the team, quote unquote, very early in the process, because the whole team has to be on the same page throughout the whole process. If a contractor, if a project gets out, and gets hard bid competitively to a number of GCs, sometimes we'll say construction, I'm not saying it gets messy, but not all the goals were aligned on day one. So, that's been my least favorite part of this industry, and just how that's, when this industry first started, or construction in Massachusetts at least, it was design build from day one. Contractor was on board. The architect and engineer could be retained by the owner, but at least everyone was there day one. When it gets put out to bid competitively, you almost, one party's coming late to the game, so they don't understand why the decisions were made in which way. Because each grower is completely different from one another, you have to understand why decisions were made. Or you might be, suggesting a value engineering item that ultimately will cause a failure in the process, because their SOPs will be, it would upset their SOPs in normal flow workday.
So almost like what sometimes we do is if we have a subcontractor come on board for like the HVAC, we'll have them be brought on throughout the whole process so they understand where everything is going and why it's going there. If they don't understand that, they'll bid exactly what's on the plans, and if you change something, it becomes a massive change order, and they might not hook it up correctly because they didn't ask the question, they weren't involved in the process. Yeah. So that could end up being what, mold problem,
could be
dehumidification, what?
It could be mold problems, could be if they use the wrong, and we've seen it, sealant around certain room types, or certain systems aren't balanced. At the end of the day, if everyone's there on day one, I think it's just a better product overall for the client. You have to realize that the MEP systems, FP, on a cannabis facility are typically 60% of the total construction costs, which In traditional construction, we might be 30%. So outside of heavy industrial manufacturing, biopharmaceutical, things of that nature, I mean, you don't see that upswing. There's definitely a bigger emphasis on the architectural end of the MEPs. So I would suggest getting a team that's definitely used to having a big engineering piece and a small architecture piece, because that's usually not how that works. So if you don't have experience in that as a contractor, as an engineer, as an architect, again, you're going to upset that balance that the team needs.
Understood. Now, when you do that, a lot of people will say, well, that if you're not competitively bidding it, how do you know that you're getting a competitive price? You've obviously done, again, 2 million square feet, so you've done a significant amount of projects, and you've been involved on both sides, the competitively build price, the design build price, and somebody that's been brought in where everybody's a collaborative. I understand the collaborative runs smoother, but when you have investors and they're saying, hard bid this, put it out to bid, you want the lowest bid, does it end up being the lowest bid, or does it cost more?
It's all relative. I think that a facility is going to cost what it's going to cost. And I know that is a wicked general answer to the question. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're growing cannabis. Yeah, I mean, the whole reason people want to get into this industry is to make money because it's very lucrative. Mm-hmm. So you have to be prepared to spend money.
But if your flower doesn't pass, then you just did all that work for nothing.
Exactly. And we have, some even existing clients in other states that are having issues with flower being rejected or returned. And we go into existing facilities that we weren't designer a record on, and we try to help them go through the process. And we've seen a lot of pitfalls in that as well. Our sister company, I guess our Cold Masters is a HVAC installer and service department. So learning a lot from those guys in the sense of maintaining the facilities and what takes. Everyone can design a brand new facility, but try to maintain it for 5-6 years, and then come call, talk to me, because it's just a totally different ball game. So you have to understand, how to live in these facilities, not just like design it, stamp it, see you later, go on to the next one.
You turn a light switch on, it's going to turn on the first time. It might not turn on the 50th time, and then what do you do?
Exactly, and I think that's we've been really we've really shined in the sense of repeat clients, referrals. Again, if you're not doing any marketing like some of the other firms in the state or even nationally firms, you really rely on your reputation. So that's what we've been, I say we've done pretty well at least. We stand behind our product and we're there. I mean, as you know, my cell phone's my cell phone, so everyone just calls me, and I pick up. So we try to make sure we take care of everyone. It's white glove service. We don't take on every job. We've walked away from some.
Yep.
Because you have to make sure it's going to be successful from day one. And a lot of people, just because they have money or they've done something out west or they've done something outdoors or they've done something in their basement, they think they can do this at this grand scale, and to be honest with you, they can't. It's I want to call it that 1% grower can do it at 100,000 square foot canopy, because it's not just growing that canopy, it's managing that canopy.
Maintaining it, everything.
Exactly.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work. And that's why I guess, in our mind, trying to produce consistent product throughout, yield, quality has been the challenge, not for some of the clients that we have, but I would say the most. Just because SOP is human capital, trying to get that, we've had a couple projects where the master cultivator has left, either during design or when the facility first opened, or a more mature facility, which then now no one knows the SOPs or why they did anything because nothing was formalized. So
even if it was formalized after it's been open for 3 or 4 years, they have their own little things that they do and own little tricks.
Exactly. They know the building.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So
Sure.
So that's where, again, I'll keep on going back to that. The Agrify system, it being so modular and software based, it's almost takes a lot of that artistry out of it, which is still a lot of work to be done. It's more agnostic, and a lot of people can just jump into it, and you're not looking at your 1% grower, you're looking at a broader base of people. So that's more exciting to me than most things. Outside of that, some great control systems finally come online, because the cannabis is actually now a white business, I guess you would call it. So there's actually
black market.
Exactly. So there's some R&D money pouring into the some great products coming out of a lot of companies. So I'm very excited on the control end, and then just visibility of the facility and control. Because before I'm not saying we were jerry rigging a lot of stuff, but it was definitely, it was advanced guerrilla grows, So
Sure.
now they're becoming more, medical grade.
Well, speaking of guerrilla glows and jerry rigging the facility, can you talk about extraction and hydrocarbon and butane extraction, please?
Yeah,
I know it's a sore subject.
Yeah,
because, I mean, not to go off on other states, but some other states have a lot less restrictions on using butane in a volatile chemical.
Exactly. Yeah. So welcome to Massachusetts. So when you go hydrocarbon, it triggers an NFPA section in the code that obviously C1D1 of course, but now there's life safety generators that have to go into play, a whole review process from the state fire marshal and any other AHJ that has to approve it. It's very convoluted. I don't really, truthfully understand why, because I don't think the mass market, and I'm saying not Massachusetts, but the mass general market, is really calling for the products that are hydrocarbon. Again, I'm not an expert, but a lot of our clients stay with CO2 and they're killing it. So the CO2 or solventless is a lot easier to design, a lot quicker to market. Again, if you want to go hydrocarbon, God bless you, let's go.
Well, there's a thing about it that they say that hydrocarbon's cheaper because the machines are cheaper.
Yes.
But what about the back end?
I think the construction.
I always, on our end, as Valiant, we always have to be the Debbie Downer and say, well, it's not. Here's your plans. This is what the engineer drew.
Yes.
And here's what the architect drew. Do you have any idea how much this costs? And then they get really upset.
I think the design costs more when you go hydrocarbon because there's just a lot more things that we have to account for, a lot more meetings. I think in general the construction gets more expensive. I always suggest when we go hydrocarbon route to get a third-party inspector to do a code analysis. And there's some great code analysis people in even Massachusetts around area that are very familiar with hydrocarbon at this point because it's more of a accepted way of doing extraction. So as things mature, we'll see if it gets easier. But right now, because right now, if you're looking at Massachusetts as a whole, you're not first to market. So if speed to market is your number one priority, don't go hydrocarbon. We can phase it in later once you're up and running and have cash flow. But it's definitely something that we try to. It's up to each individual client which way they want to do it, why they want to do it. But it definitely, I think it's cost the same, to be honest with you. Once we start breaking down the design costs, the construction costs, any of the implications, or just the tie-ups with the AHJs and the whole approval process.
Understood. I know we were kind of running out of time, but there was one last thing that I really wanted to cover was odor mitigation. I know CEC and your team has kind of pioneered the odor mitigation in the state, with some towns that they've actually taken what you wrote and they made that the standard. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how important that's becoming throughout the towns? If anybody is going to be doing any type of applying to the town for their HCA or when they get their CCC application in, odor mitigation is going to be a hot topic.
Yeah, no, it's the number one question on everyone's mind. We'll say is odor mitigation. So we've come up with a couple of solutions that I think have been pretty effective. There's some tried and true methods that are very expensive. We don't like to offer those day one. We try to work within the building envelope and working with the existing systems that we can. To be honest with you, a lot of it is using what we know from the biopharmaceutical world or laboratory world. I don't think the general public realizes the toxic gases that get spewed into the atmosphere on a daily basis and no one cares. Cannabis as a whole is definitely it's a nuisance. It's not harmful to your body in any way. It's an organic
It
compound.
just smells.
Yeah, it's
It smells like a skunk.
Exactly. So it's a nuisance, and I agree with you. It's an awful smell. I wouldn't want to be living next to something that wasn't designed properly. But again, odor mitigation starts at the building envelope. So if you have a existing facility, we'll see this a lot, an old mill or anything like that, and the building envelope wasn't treated first, it's going to leak. So if you have a tight building. We'll reference one of your projects. Rev Clinics, which is hundreds of thousands of square feet. you're not smelling that facility until you're about 10 feet away.
No, they did that one properly. They sealed that. That was the first thing they did, was seal the entire envelope to make sure nothing was going to leak out of there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's, and that's even when they're decarbing. I mean, it's very impressive.
But the problem is that becomes an incredible cost when you're taking an old mill building over and something that you're not accounting for.
Yes.
So it just seems like when this business, when you're starting out, especially from the engineering standpoint and a construction standpoint, the costs never end.
Yep.
And that's obviously got to be a situation or an issue with some of your clients. So what's your answer to that? Is that just be prepared?
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we do. Someone's going to complain, because not every township or city, not everyone in that town or city approves of cannabis, regardless of which way it voted. So they're going to find something to complain about. We joke about it. We've had facilities get odor complaints when there's no plants in them. And it's happened multiple times. So, I mean, at the end of the day, just be prepared for the complaints. Have an SOP ready for those complaints, because I know that sounds strange, but there has to be an SOP to register that complaint. It can't just go on deaf ears. You have to prove competency and follow through.
Prove that you're taking steps, measurable steps to combat that or mitigate the issue.
Exactly. And then at the end of the day, I am not, we don't claim to be odor mitigation specialists. We bring in those third-party guys when we need to, when it's a little bit tricky, but rely on your experts, So, as the engineer of record, we'll design the system in conjunction with things. We'll use a variety of different products and methods, one being, again, we'll go back to the Agrify Blue Zone.
Where they use an ozone to kill all the odor.
Yep. So we used ozone, we used chlorine dioxide, we've used hydrogen peroxide, but I mean the Blue Zone's kind of a nice little unit that seems to be working pretty effectively. I mean, when we asked to demonstrate one for a town, we put an onion on one end and the town planner's face was on the other, and there was no smell. So, I mean, it was kind of. The proof, I guess, is in the pudding. But again, it's not the only solution. It has to be tied into a bigger system. So, don't cheap out on engineering. Please don't go design build without engineers.
On staff, especially the ones that have not built one of these before.
Yeah, you don't want someone to cut your teeth on your first facility. Go learn on someone else's job, not mine.
Well, what's funny though is the first time I met you was a few years ago now. The cutting edge technology was that weird digester system that you're using to mitigate the odor.
Yeah, we basically just burn everything. Fire kills all. Yes.
Yeah. What was that? A jet engine on the top of the roof?
Yeah, quintessentially, it's an RTO. So I mean, we definitely, and that's widely used in the biopharmaceutical world. Again, very, very, very expensive. I mean, that system installed is 6 to 7 figures without even thinking about it. So, I mean, it's something we use in a smaller form. And we both have a good friend, Zach Catan, that's a great extraction guy, that we'll use on his extraction and decarb ovens, because it will kill smell in those densely populated neighborhood areas like one of his labs. And it works. There's nothing else that, at that point would. So it's just rely on your engineers, rely on your experts, rely on your contractors, the third-party experts. I mean, there's enough people in this industry that have had worse situations than probably you're dealing with that have come through. So I think that's my only advice on that one. But make sure it's a consensus. Pay for a study if you have to. We've had clients pay for us to research different technologies and give recommendations on that, because not every solution, try not to make it one person's opinion. Try to make it a scientific opinion.
Gotcha. People tend to like that one.
Well, listen, it's subjective until there's a measure in place to actually measure the smell level in some way.
What was that, Richie Rich? That was the only movie I ever saw with that smelling machine. That was it.
Well, they keep on, that was the other thing. The towns keep on talking about the sniffer, like the thing they put up to the face, the cops. Like, I don't know, man. That's hard to... Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the day that I have to go to a building walkthrough and someone puts a nose on their face. But yeah, other than that, I mean, let's do the best we can and just everyone understand that it's kind of a moving target, and this, it's not that, indoor cannabis is new, but at the size and scale it is right now, it's definitely...
it's an undertaking for sure.
Yeah, especially since we start talking about the more suburban areas or towns that have approved cannabis, that just gets more and more difficult as we go. So I would urge the town planners and AHJs, request an engineered narrative, some kind of odor mitigation plan, ask for SOPs, ask for, how you're going to handle complaints, how you're going to approve the complaints.
A lot easier to do it now, before you have your facility, than to put the measures in after the fact.
Exactly, because no one wants that.
Yeah.
I mean, these facilities are 24/7; they can't shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's definitely let's do the front end work, the design work now, because it's only a mistake until it gets built.
Fantastic. That's true.
I'll try.
Well, it looks like that's pretty much all the time we have for today. Obviously, there's a lot more that I want to talk to you about and give some more information to the viewers, but I appreciate you on today. If anybody wanted to contact you, how would they contact you? What was your...
I mean, I guess they just contact you and then call me, because we don't... I mean, so you can go to our website, which is cec-engineering.com. It shows nothing on cannabis whatsoever. It's probably really old, because we don't believe in marketing at all. But I would
on the flip side to that, if you go to our website, it shows a ton of cannabis. It's valiant-america.com, and if you want to email us at info@valiant-america.com, we can send you all Frank's information. And if you need any questions with engineering or anybody, they can reach out to you.
Yeah, have your little. We'll have your media specialist guy that just came in here and hooked me up. Add my email or something to the link, or I don't know how any of that works.
Okay, we can definitely put the contact information in. Well, I appreciate you coming in today. Thank you very much. I know you're a busy guy, and taking the time out.
It's fine. It's nice
deal.
to be out of the house for a little bit during quarantine.
Well,
so
now your wife's not going to get mad at me for the whole 6-foot rule, because we just showed you
we
6 feet
proved
away.
It's proved it.
It's on camera. That's
it's on
it.
camera.
I'm good.
We're good.
So make sure you put your mask on when you get out.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Have a good day, man. Thank you again. Appreciate you viewing.
All right. Bye.